Hey there, Soulmates. So much to talk about on this Thursday. We first want to welcome you to FOXSOUL's Black Report. We're following the latest in medicine with a warning from those who have suffered from long COVID and also high blood pressure. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Nicordelide Corte, plus how Florida is helping in the fight for transgender rights. They're the stories that impact our people.
We're going to bring you our news, our views, and our voice. So let's get into our top story for today. It takes us to Florida as a jury has acquitted former NFL player Travis Rudolph. He's 27 of all murder charges. Rudolph, who briefly played in the NFL, faced 1 count of first-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted murder for a deadly shooting outside his Lake Park residence. Now, the shooting occurred during a violent confrontation when 4 men approached Rudolph's home regarding a dispute. Rudolph claimed self-defense after witnessing 2 guns pointed at him. The judge ordered the removal of Rudolph's house arrest monitor following this verdict.
Now, Courtney, part of the reason why this verdict is so significant is that Rudolph had been put on house arrest after the judge refused to dismiss the case based on the stand your ground defense claims, leaving it up to a jury to decide. And, this just kind of confirms what a lot of soulmates believe or might believe, which is that when it comes to black folks, that stand your ground law does not apply equally. He claimed that as we've seen so many folks in Florida claim stand your ground, including George Zimmerman in the murder of Trayvon Martin. And it does not apply the same with us. And so,
we are not given that grace.
This victory, means that we too can claim stand your ground.
We're definitely not given that grace. And there was this, this played out, of course, in the courts and in the headlines, but it also played out on Black Twitter. The confrontation stemmed from his ex-girlfriend being upset with him, calling on brothers and friends to come and handle this guy. And they chose to do it violently. And so that was the premise of his claim of self-defense. They came onto his property. One of the brothers said, you messed with the wrong girl, the wrong sister. And there seemed to have been intent to do some bodily harm, if not take him out. And so within that commotion, guns appeared. And of course, he claimed self-defense and right. He didn't get that grace, and so he was immediately put on house arrest. And this particular case has played out in his favor. Very interesting opinions across Black Twitter. A lot of people felt the girlfriend should have been held accountable for what has happened because there was a life lost. Just a very interesting all-around court case, and especially interesting seeing as though what we're dealing with also in Florida.
That's right. Never a shortage of issues in Florida.
That's right.
Moving along, Reverend Al Sharpton will deliver the eulogy for Ajike A.J. Owens, a mother of 4 shot and killed by neighbor Susan Lorenz in Ocala. Owens confronted Lorenz over an alleged incident with her child. Lorenz fired a fatal shot through her front door. Now, previous altercations between the two had been reported. Lorenz faces charges of manslaughter, culpable negligence, battery, and assault. Reverend Sharpton's eulogy will take place at 11 a.m. with the funeral location undisclosed.
Yeah, this one, it weighs really heavy because, not only do you have children without their mother, but one of her children saw that, what I want to call assassination. There's still a lot of question around the charges. A lot of people are saying, hey, they just don't weigh heavy enough. They're not reflective of the idea that a murder has taken place versus manslaughter and how that all breaks down legally speaking. We were talking yesterday, maybe that's the charge that the prosecutors felt like they could get some sort of kind of conviction, because as much as we get accused of playing the race card, it's the race card. We just talked about this other case in Florida where this young man claimed stand your ground and he was immediately detained and put on house arrest. So herein lies another question about the grace. But aside from the legality and the criminal act, it's just the loss that is overbearing. I saw her mother speak at a press conference, and I try to stay tapped in because you want to feel that emotion, you want to help and support and be on top of these headlines as best as you can.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have to pull up because it's just too heavy.
Yeah.
It's just too heavy.
You're right, and this was not the first incident. Records show that 911 had been called a half dozen times. just since 2021. This is involving Lorenz and Owens. And in 2 cases, in February 2022 and April 2023, Lorenz called 911 because she was upset that Owens' dog was on her property. And so there have been sort of a number of exchanges between these women that have clearly escalated over a very short period of time in terms of years. And so, you know, this is the sort of hostility that so many black folks find themselves in and having to navigate through on a daily basis, not just in places like Florida, but across the country.
Yeah.
And so this is just another indication of just how tensions can flare and things can go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds and somebody end up dead.
Yeah, and most times, unfortunately, it does not, we do not fare well in these type of situations. We do not get the grace. We do not get the understanding. We do not get, you know, the pause to try to figure things out. And so, yeah, just yet another disturbing case, another eulogy. I mean, the Reverend will bring it home, you know, and honor her life and bring forth the message, but yet another one, you know?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Someone left a dead raccoon and a sign containing intimidating language mentioning Redmond County or Redmond City Councilor Clifford Evelyn outside of the office of Mayor of Ed Fitch. That's in Oregon. The sign's language, described as racially hateful by Mayor Fitch, raises concerns for Councilor Evelyn, a black representative facing discrimination. Police are actively investigating the incident as a potential hate crime. The act adds to a series of racially charged incidents in the area. Councilor Evelyn remains confident in the ongoing investigation.
And again, you know, this is a part of a series of events that we're seeing locally. You know, in recent years, Black Redmond, a teenager, found threatening messages on her doorstep. A failed candidate for one of the local commissions there displayed a Confederate flag during the 4th of July parade. You know, and we don't need to educate our soulmates in terms of just how racist and how demeaning raccoons are intended to be, you know, for black people, right? And so there's a pattern here, right? We went from Florida, you know, all the way to Oregon, where there is a pattern, you know, by which folks are seeking to intimidate us, to, dare I say, terrorize us in our own neighborhoods.
Yeah, very brazen, very emboldened. And, you know, as a culture, as a people, we just have to continue to counteract. We just have to be strategic in how we do that, because again, I don't think we're extended the grace when things unfortunately go awry, and you know, they result in those unwanted results, if you will, and that can even be tricky. How do you go about addressing it without being accused of, you know, hating back, without you know, subjecting yourself to what people of color have to or are continue to be subjected to when it comes to, you know, trying to push through for justice. It's really a slippery slope, and it's really unfortunate to continue to hear. I mean, this sounds like 1960.
Yeah.
It reminds me of or the Civil Rights Movement or Jim Crow, really. And it just, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Kind of a synopsis happening here.
But, you know, it's also a reminder, you know, that stuff like that, stuff that we expect to come out of the Jim Crow South, can come out of Oregon. Pretty far away from the South, but, you know, not in terms of actions like this. And it sounds like there aren't a lot of black folks in this community to begin with, and that folks are sort of reacting to, you know, black people on city council, running for city council. And so I would just say it's another reminder of how important it is for us to be in community with one another, because, you know, you can't suffer through this kind of stuff alone.
I agree.
Moving along, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Braggs has disavowed over 300 convictions linked to police officers found guilty of crimes resulting in over 1,000 dismissals citywide. The convictions, mostly misdemeanors dating back to 1996, involve 9 officers convicted of on-the-job offenses such as bribery and evidence planting. These actions led to the imprisonment of more than 50 individuals and fines for 130 others. The move follows the trend set by other New York City district attorneys seeking to address cases involving charged or convicted officers.
Well, you got to let them go. You can't hold them to these convictions.
Let my people go.
You know, no matter how severe or minimal they are, you can't hold them to these convictions by way of crooked, dirty cops. It just, the law just doesn't work that way. Even if some of those convicted, really, did what they were convicted of doing, it cancels out everything, and you just really can't hold them to that. So that's a shame in the sense that, in this society, when we do wrong, there is a price to pay or some consequences that you have to deal with. But, for that to be predicated on some dirty cops, and just imagine the folks who were innocent, and how that took away from their life and the drama and the stress that they had to deal with, maybe evidence being planted on them or something of that nature. It just sounds like one of those evening cop shows, something out of Hollywood, if you will.
Yeah, well, and this is also another important reminder of the difference that black prosecutors make, right? When black folks go and work on the inside, not just on the outside as defense attorneys, but on the inside as prosecutors,
right,
we can make a really big difference in the lives of folks. I mean, these are folks that had stuff on their record that was not expunged. These are folks that had stuff on their record that was holding them back. And this is a difference, a material difference he's made in the lives of those people.
I would agree. All right, let's go to Chicago now, where they continue to grapple with a migrant crisis, reigniting divisions over race, ethnicity, and aid distribution. Immigrant families are forced to sleep in police stations due to limited resources for the unhoused. The city council approved $51 million in migrant aid, but critics argue that existing homelessness issues should take priority. Tensions ran high during public comment periods and debates, with Alderman Jeanette Taylor emphasizing unity and expressing concerns about neglecting the needs of Black Chicagoans. The situation highlights the need for comprehensive immigration policy and collaborative solutions to address both migration and homelessness challenges.
And it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. And I think there are folks that are saying in Chicago that we've got to be able to do both, but we got to balance it out. Yes, there are unhoused people that are sleeping on the streets in Chicago. There are a host of other sort of, public safety related issues in Chicago. But you also have, these migrants, that have been shipped to Chicago as a part of a political stunt by the Texas governor specifically. And that also needs to be handled with dignity and with integrity. These are people that fled their country, fleeing religious persecution, political persecution, and violence. And so, we're a country that has said that we believe in asylum.
That's what we're all about.
Which is a human right. We're a country, that has said, that, all are welcome here, all, are welcome to unite around one flag. And that's what these folks are trying to do. But Chicago can't do it alone.
That's right. And, it's a shame that these migrants are being, used as like political pawns, which, throws the idea of humanity, out of the window. And then I hear the alderman, listen, we can address this problem, sure enough, but what about the problems that have been existing, with just the people of Chicago and homelessness? So that's a tough cookie to crack, nut to crack rather, cookie to crumble, however you want to look at it.
You're making me hungry.
I know, because I am hungry. But it's just, I get caught up in how you continue to address it, because both of these issues have to be addressed, and I just don't want anybody left behind. I just think it's sad as far as from the migrant perspective, because I believe they are political pawns. And from the homeless issues that are already happening in Chicago, what about them?
Yeah. Yeah, but we need to prioritize, right? But we also need to lead with our values. And so, we got a new mayor in Chicago.
Yeah. He's got a lot on his plate.
He's got a lot on his plate, but it's going to be interesting to see how he balances this out. And is it any different from former Mayor Lori Lightfoot?
I think it will be.
We shall see. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson revealed receiving $1,200 floral display, from Oprah Winfrey, and $6,500 worth of designer clothes for a magazine photo shoot. Yeah, the disclosure was a part of the annual financial reports released by the justices. However, the report of Justice Clarence Thomas, who has been scrutinized for undisclosed gifts from a Republican donor, was delayed. The reports provide insights into the justice's finances, including Justice Sonia Sotomayor's royalties from children's books. The ethics of the Supreme Court has been a focus of attention, particularly concerning gifts received by Justice Thomas.
And pull up off Miss Brown Jackson. She clearly said that this was a part of her coming into this seat. You know, people were celebrating her. There were a myriad of photo shoots. People wanted to, you know, congratulate her. So, you know, she's being very transparent, but the gifting makes sense. Tom, on the other hand, Tommy, and I don't mean to disrespect his position, because you know there's a body of work that has propelled him to the highest court in the land. But his stuff stinks.
Not only does it
or
stink,
lack thereof of his transparency, it stinks.
It's more than it stinks. It's really funky.
I'm being nice.
It's really funky. You're being really nice, right? So Thomas's receipts of gifts valued at several hundred thousands of dollars from the Republican donor Harlan Crow. That's what's prompted these calls for ethics reforms on the nation's highest court. That's more than Ketanji Brown Jackson's little $1,200 bouquet from Miss Oprah, right? It's more than, you know, the photo shoot or photo shoots that she was a part of. And, you know, it's really important as a lot of these decisions are coming down from the Supreme Court. Just today, you know, we saw that the voting rights case decision came down in favor of the civil rights folks that, you know, were alleging racial bias and the Republicans that were drawing the maps in Alabama. These are important decisions that are going to make a material difference in everyday people's lives, on student loans, on affirmative action. And so we need to know that our justices are not being bought and paid for, you know, by, you know, high net worth individuals.
That they legit.
That's right.
All right. Vice President Harris will visit the Bahamas, making her the highest ranking U.S. official to do so since its independence. She aims to discuss climate change, firearms, trafficking, crime, and the Haiti crisis with Caribbean leaders. Harris will host the U.S. Caribbean leaders meeting in Nassau, announcing a $20 million investment in the Caribbean Climate Investment Program and $50 million for disaster risk reduction. She will appoint a coordinator for the Caribbean firearms prosecutions to combat trafficking. Harris will emphasize U.S. support for a multinational force in Haiti and announce $50 million in humanitarian aid. This is big, Nicorda.
It's a big deal. I mean, we see the vice president coming, you know, going to the Caribbean with gifts in hand. That's a lot of dough, and that dough is really a down payment, considering the growing needs of folks in the Caribbean, of Black folks across the diaspora. When I was with her, traveling with her in Africa, she brought lots of aid to Ghana and Tanzania and Zambia, and she's doing the same in the Caribbean. And so it's great to see her spreading the love across the diaspora. But what really got my attention was this coordinator for Caribbean firearms prosecution. She's basically announcing that there's this new position in the Department of Justice where it's going to be an experienced DOJ prosecutor who's going to work to disrupt firearms trafficking. Courtney, how often do we report on day in and day out the epidemic of gun violence in this country? And we know that a lot of those are illegal guns that are coming from all different places, including the Caribbean. This is an important action.
And she is outside and has been outside. I appreciate, you know, her kind of like checking off this list of places that, you know, were probably past overdue for visits from the highest officials, you know, in our government. But what I found a little interesting was, you know, when you circle it back to, you know, the stateside, you know, West Indian culture and the abundance of folks with West Indian heritage, such as myself, they make up a big part of the Black vote, and are very, very important. And so I think that may, you know, add to, you know, people feeling included, you know, even if they weren't, you know, naturally from the States or just have ties to other countries, that we're looking out for the well-being of others that have a direct connection to us.
It's important stuff. Still ahead with everything Florida is doing to take rights away from certain groups, one judge is making a change.
We got it for you about the most recent move to help protect trans rights. It's all straight ahead right here on Fox Soul's Black Report.
Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. A new ruling from a judge in Florida is protecting the health care of trans children.
Now, this ruling affects 3 of the 7 families who sued to block Florida's law banning gender-affirming care for minors. Doctors for those 3 transgender children told the judge the children all need to either begin or continue receiving puberty blockers immediately. Federal Judge Robert Hinkle's ruling allows that to happen.
Yeah, Hinkle also believes that the new law likely violates the Equal Protection Clause in the Constitution. An attorney representing the plaintiffs in this case believe even a narrow ruling like this can have broad implications. However, State Representative Ralph Mazzullo from Citrus County, who sponsored the version of this bill in the Florida House, says that the judge is just plain wrong.
So your thoughts to where, people will argue and push back and say they're just too young, even if they identify with something different. Just let them grow up a little bit, let them experience some things, and then maybe later on in life support like a full transition. But at this point, some people would say they're just too young. They're just children. It's just too much, too soon. Your thoughts on that?
Well, that was actually the exact argument that former Vice President Mike Pence made last night during the CNN town hall, where this issue came up. And Dana Bash from CNN sort of challenged him and said, well, wait a minute, you're also in favor of parental rights, right? And so what about the parents that are deciding, that they are okay, that they believe that this is the health care that their kids need to be their full, authentic self? And so, are you saying that those parents shouldn't have the right, along with the doctor, to make a decision in the best interest of their kid, which in this case meant, giving them puberty blockers? The former vice president, didn't really answer that question. But that is one of the big questions of our time. If for folks that are about parental rights, when it comes to banning books, when it comes to, content in the curriculum, well, those same parents may have an opinion that is affirming their kid getting the trans health care that they need.
Yeah, I know Dwayne and Gabrielle caught a lot of flack, feeling as though, their daughter was too young to, for them to approve it in the way that they did. So they got a lot of pushback. So that's a real big back and forth kind of ping pong kind of argument. But here's what I want to circle back around to. Florida. We might as well just call this the Fox Soul Black Report Florida edition, because
so many stories
coming out of Florida, and they're sad stories, they're tragic stories, they're unfortunate, whether it be political, whether it be social, something in regards to just racism and discrimination, the hate. It's just so unfortunate.
It is.
It really is.
It is, but you know what? It's holding up a mirror, and it's asking us as a nation, who do we want to be? Do we want to be more like Florida, or do we want to be something else? That is one of the major questions of our time. Moving along, high blood pressure risk may make getting COVID more deadly for U.S. Black Americans. Research shows that while high blood pressure is listed as a risk factor for about 15% of all COVID deaths, the CDC says it's closer to 21% for Black Americans, the highest of any group in their data. Of course, experts are advising Black Americans to stay on top of their health and seek a professional opinion when looking for options to lower your blood pressure.
But, this is something that, we've always heard in our community, blood pressure, diabetes, for the women, fibroids, the disparities with cancers like breast cancer. And it speaks to what we talked about in another show, to whereas I feel like there's a whole nother filter that needs to be used or utilized or gathered or constructed when it comes to diagnosing people of color. We're just different. Biologically, physiologically, it seems as though we're just different. Or maybe it could be the fact that environmentally, sometimes we're just not in the healthiest places, or we don't have access to the healthiest choices. There's something there to whereas when it comes to our diagnosis, there are huge differences, and we need to be looked at differently.
Yeah.
We need to be cared for differently, which is why there's this huge push for doctors that look like us so they can understand our challenges when we walk through their doctor doors.
But you know what? It's also important for us to make the healthy choice the easy choice. And in a lot of communities across the country, the healthy choice is not the affordable choice.
This is true.
Nor is it the easy choice. And we've got to remember some of the dark days of the COVID pandemic where we were learning what those risk factors were that might have made us, sort of more susceptible to some of the worst symptoms of COVID.
Some of us didn't even know we had COVID. Remember late 2019?
Yeah.
I was feeling really bad and the doctor couldn't figure it out. And then here comes 2020 and we all know what happened at that point.
We got to stay on top of that health and we can't normalize this stuff, even though there are so many folks in our communities that suffer from high blood pressure. Even Tina Turner, said that she had suffered from high blood pressure for 4 decades.
She had a stroke.
Yeah.
All right, not too many people are aware, surprisingly, but Detroit borders Ontario, Canada, and wildfires in Canada are responsible for a massive air quality alert for Detroiters. Hazy skies stretching from St. Louis in the west to Boston in the east, and here in Detroit in the north to Charlotte in the south. All told, nearly 100 million Americans are being urged to stay inside. Detroit's air quality index measured 176, which is considered unhealthy. Good levels are a number of only 50 or lower, and this is affecting folks across from coast to coast, really.
Yeah.
You can see how hazy it's been here in Detroit. Canada is right up top, about 4 hours away, or you can go right across the bridge and there's Canada right there. And in New York, those pictures out of New York, they look like a horror film.
Yeah, they remind me of the film Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
When the sky looked like cotton candy.
Right, that's right.
Right. I mean, that's exactly what it looked like to me. And here in Detroit, you can taste the soot in the
smoke,
air.
Yeah.
I noticed that there was a little ash, a little thin layer of ash, on the car. And so this is serious stuff, and it's important that we connect this to the crisis around climate change, right? Climate change is not just showing up as wildfires in California or melting icebergs in Antarctica, but it's wildfires in Canada, that are impacting folks across this country.
And those with respiratory issues, they're telling you to mask up yet again. All right, coming up, could your favorite WNBA star be chosen for the All-Star games?
Well, you all, we're gonna let you know. We're gonna let you know how it's gonna go and how you need to vote for your favorite folks this year. Don't you go anywhere.
Okay.
You're watching FOXSOUL's Black Report.
I'm struggling today too. It's okay.
Welcome back to FOXSOUL's Black Report. Well, Jim Hines, the 1968 Olympic 100-meter champion who went on to be an NFL wide receiver, has died at the age of 76.
USA Track and Field announced Hines' death with no cause of death provided. The track and field star was born in Arkansas and raised in Oakland, California. He took his talent to HBCU, Texas Southern University, where he quickly rose up the ranks.
That's right. Hines helped make history at what became known as the Night of Speed at the AAU Championships. The world record in the 100-meter dash, which stood at 10 seconds, was broken by 3 men and tied by 7 others, including Hines, who was the first person to clock a 9.9 under regulation. What?
Wow.
After his track career, Hines suited up for the Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs. After Hines retired from sports, he worked as a social worker and established a charity, according to the New York Times. And he was inducted into the National Track and Field Hall of Fame in 1979. Wow, Courtney, what a life.
That is amazing. All right, President Joe Biden has welcomed the Kansas City Chiefs to the White House. Their visit was to congratulate the team for their Super Bowl win earlier this year against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, according to the NFL's official website, their special trip was the first time the team visited the White House in franchise history. The Chiefs earning the Lombardi Trophy wasn't the only memorable moment from the February 12th Super Bowl. If you recall, Rihanna made her Super Bowl halftime performer debut, breaking TV records as she revealed a second pregnancy and went through a myriad of all of her hits, had people bopping all throughout the half.
We still bopping.
So you still bopping?
I'm still bopping.
It was a good look.
It was a really good look. It was a really good look.
Congratulations to all of these athletes, and sorry to hear the loss of that great Jim Hines. Again, being transparent, that was a new one for me. But when you read up on that life and that legacy, and did you see that B-roll there? That man was running.
Yeah.
That was speed beyond speed.
I mean, what a life, you know, track and field, football, you know, being a social worker, you know, very active in terms of his charitable giving. I mean, you know, he's offering us a blueprint.
Yeah.
You know, you ain't got to be one thing. You know, you know, and we're not a monolith in who we are as a people, but also, you know, how we show up in the world.
I think when we first started FOXSOUL's Black Report, that was the one line. That was our lifesaver. That saved our life. We're trying to explain, you know, what our mission was. But it's very true because a lot of people think differently. You know, Black folks are extremely diverse. I mean, you and I have had our differences in opinion and how to approach things. So it's true. And so examples like this just, you know, drive that point home.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, the WNBA All-Star voting has officially opened for fans to vote for their league favorites. The cool part about the voting process is that you can vote for any player in the league regardless of team or conference. The three options to vote for players to become All-Stars are on the WNBA website. You can check it out through the WNBA app and Instagram, and fans can submit one ballot per day, voting for between 1 to 10 players. You can vote on your desktop, your mobile, or go to vote.wnba.com or the WNBA app. Voting is from now until June 21st, so get on it, soulmate.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get with it because I'm gonna have to familiarize myself with more of the WNBA players, especially the ones who aren't as popular as others. What I do love about this whole take is that women's sports, I think basketball in particular, is leading the way. I mean, I was glued to the TV during that women's NCAA final, the WNBA playoffs and championships. These ladies are running up and down that court, and they are killing it. And they come from all different walks of life, different backgrounds. When you get a chance to tap in maybe across their social media pages and you hear their stories and what they had to go through just to get on a college squad or just to make it to the WNBA. And back in my day, you know, I always say,
I know you always got to slide that in there.
But no,
she always has to do.
I say that because back in my day, I'm 52. No, really. There were, aside from maybe going overseas, there were no other options. And so you had these incredibly talented female athletes, basketballers, ballers, who really didn't have anywhere to go thereafter.
Yeah.
And even as the WNBA continues to flex and get stronger, you know, that pay for some still isn't there.
The pay disparity is something else.
So, I mean, there's still a long way to go, but at least there's a place for them to land nowadays. And that's what I'm excited about.
Well, you know, I'm excited that they are getting more attention, dare I say the attention that they deserve. But, you know, compared to the NBA, we still have a while to go. We still have a ways to go.
That's right.
I mean, I remember back in the days of Cheryl Swoops and Lisa Leslie, and now you have Brittany Griner and so many other, you know, the next generation of WNBA superstars leading the way. And so, you know, I think things are trending in the right direction, but we need to accelerate that change.
Because back in my day,
back when?
In my day, coming up, the music industry and the world continues to love on baby girl Aaliyah. We're still giving her flowers all these years later.
That's right. When we return, we'll tell you all about the newest documentary about her life and how she's being honored later this year. You're watching FOXSOUL's Black Report.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to FOXSOUL's Black Report. And soulmates, did you know that June is not just Pride Month, it's also Black Music Month? And guess what? We're here to celebrate it.
Absolutely. So the contributions of Black artists and musicians, it runs so deep that we you know, listen, rock and roll, that's us.
How deep? Like river deep,
like
mountain high?
Way deep.
You catch it?
So this Music Month, we welcome one of the best musicians to do it and is still doing it, the one and only Adam Blackstone. musical genius from that black pool of musical genius. You are the man, and just to watch your rise has been amazing.
Thank you so much, y'all. I'm honored to be here, not only representing Black Music Month, but our culture as a whole. We have become pop music for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Well, Adam, music is so important to our everyday lives. I was just rocking out to Tina Turner, the queen of rock and roll, before we came out here. Talk to us about your origin story and what led you to music.
Yes, no problem. It's, it feels like the typical Black musician, but growing up in church for sure. Dad is a church organist. My mom sang in the choir. My aunties and uncles were so huge. And I always like to say, man, playing in church prepared me for stages such as the Super Bowl, such as the Oscars, Grammy, because what happens is you're in what we all know and call the spirit, and it just moves you in a different way to be on the spot and be on. So I grew up in church. I then moved to Philadelphia from New Jersey in 2000 and went to Performing Arts College, University of the Arts. And from there in the town, I was doing everything from weddings, bar mitzvahs, restaurants, jazz clubs. And I stumbled upon this open mic spot called the Philly 5 spot. Little did I know then that would change my life forever. It was run by the Roots crew. And they scooped me up as their little brother. And from 2001 until now, I continue to be an honorary Roots. Just came off Roots Picnic. And guys have shown me the ropes. Questlove continues to be my mentor, my musical director. I know everybody likes to say I'm everybody's music director, but he's my musical director. And it's been a long-standing journey until then to create a legacy of excellence.
Wow, there's this whole. You continue to hear, about everybody who comes from under that tree of the Roots. I did not know you were one of those branches, but it makes sense now, Adam. It makes sense.
The roots run deep.
Yeah, indeed.
Literally, yes, absolutely. They have been the catalyst for so many other and musicians all over the world. They stuck to what they do well and have done it and never wavered through the 90s. And now, here we are 2-3 decades later, on the highest level possible. I can only strive to be them, but they've given me great aspirations to do, and I always try to push it forward.
Yeah, you play a myriad of instruments. We now know, or I know because I follow, and folks are picking up on what you're putting down. Was it hard to choose, which instrument you wanted to focus in on? Which one is your favorite, and why so?
Such a funny story with that. Again, growing up in church, my dad was what we consider one-man band, wedding band. So if he missed church, he'd be like, tomorrow you're playing organ. Tomorrow you're playing drums. And it's like I had no choice. But going to school, I remember my Caucasian band director saying, hey, man, every little kid, and he wanted to say black kid, I'm sure, wants to play drums. We have a vacancy for bass guitar. And knowing my family history and how we were in music around the town, I was like, man, I ain't playing no bass. I don't want to walk to school with that. That's back in the day. They don't remember when you used to walk to school. You know what I mean? And so it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, though, for sure.
So speaking of history, Adam, your show called That's My Jam really showcases all types of music. How important has music been to the Black experience, both past and present? I know Juneteenth is right around the corner, and we celebrate Black History 365 here at FOXSOUL's Black Report. And so tell us.
Yes. I mean, it is undeniable that music in general has a long-standing history to be emotional. It can make you cry. It can make you laugh. It can make you happy. It can make you sad. And so even going through this pandemic, guys, I was lucky enough to be in one of the, foremost entertainment sections that people wanted to go to sporting events and they wanted to listen to music or go to concerts. And so I pride myself on bringing that experience to the viewer, not just on That's My Jam, but even live as well. You know what I mean? Whether that be Super Bowl or whatever, it's like, we want to go on that ride. We want to go on that emotional journey to where we were in our minds and our hearts and our bodies when we heard our favorite songs. that's my goal at all time, is to have that nostalgia feeling run through by playing your favorite songs on the grandest stages. Music has the power to heal. I truly believe it has the power to get us through tough times. And I'm so excited that Black music in general has come to the forefront of that, whether it's blues, R&B, hip hop, rap, country, gospel, whatever it is. We are culture, we are pop music, and it continues to permeate the world.
Yeah, you know what I love about you is you never, forget your roots, pun intended, because, you work with some amazing artists who are already, major and worldwide, but you also take time, because I watch your sets on social media, you take time to spend with that artist who's kind of up and coming, like the young Gabby girl. And that's what I love about where you are right now. Recently, you did, the Super Bowl with Rihanna, a whole bunch of other myriad of performances. What are those big, huge experiences like? Are they like, are you kidding me moments like, I have really, made it to this and have curated such great performances, such as the one we're looking at now, Rihanna at the Super Bowl?
I'm going to say yes to all of it. There have been times where I get nervous still, but that means, you know what I'm saying? And when I don't get nervous, that means it's not important to me. So I get nervous pretty often because I'm trying to bring the experience to the viewer about how much rehearsal we've put in, how much time we put in to make it perfect. And it's not for me. It's for the artist. As a great musical director, my job is to support the artist's vision. So whether that's Rihanna, Dr. Dre, Jill Scott, whoever it may be, it's like they all have their own individual vision. It's my job to support that and then make it a great experience for the listener and for the viewer. It never gets old to me. I'm so blessed to have the gift of music in my life as my job. And I know that it's a gift from God for sure. And I will continue to, hold on to it and do my best to represent it.
Nice.
And speaking of Dr. Dre, Dr. Dre's performance last year, that was fire. What can we expect to see from you, Adam Blackstone? What can we expect to see from you in the near future?
Yes, I have been on tour.
We still got you. Are you there?
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. We still got you.
My new album came out September, Legacy. It is now Grammy nominated.
Yes.
Last month we won an NAACP Image Award, and so I've been on tour representing the Legacy experience. I'm opening for Jill Scott. It's a full circle moment for me, and so I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for that. We have Juneteenth coming up live on CNN. I'll be at the Hollywood Bowl that week as well, representing Legacy, the BET Awards. Blue Note Jazz. Is so much going up for not just Black Music Month, but for the whole entire year.
That's amazing. And to be in that upper echelon of music directors, that is a very exclusive club, and you are smashing it. Let me tell you, you really are. Patrice Rushen, you got Chucky Booker. I'm into it, so I can go on and on and on. Before we let you go, talk about the arts. Being in jeopardy, especially when we talk about schools and community programs. Talk about some of the projects and ways that Soulmates, as our viewers here, can help support, especially during this June being Black Music Month.
Absolutely, it's definitely another epidemic where it's like they're taking arts out of schools. We have to be mindful when people try to do that, because arts have helped save a bunch of us, musicians, rappers, singers, whatever it may be, that gives us an outlet to be emotional, to express ourselves. So there's things you can do with Save the Music from the Recording Academy. There's things you can do at your local level to donate instruments to schools. And also don't forget that the local YMCAs, local churches, all of that, music and arts play an important role in how we grow up and how we preserve our culture, and just continue to support in every way possible. It takes money, it takes time, it takes effort, all of the above. It takes role models, and it takes people and like us, Black people, to show a generation under us that it is possible. So I'm always going to try to continue to do that as well, to give back.
Well said.
Our thanks to musical genius Adam Blackstone. I'm going to try and catch you at the Hollywood Bowl, if not someplace. One of those places.
Let me know what you need. I got you. June 22nd. Hollywood Bowl with Jill Scott. Can't wait.
We coming,
All right.
brother.
Appreciate you,
Thank
brother.
you so much. Be well.
Peace.
Yep.
Well, a Power trailer has been released for an upcoming documentary that's honoring one of the most beloved artists in R&B.
We are talking about none other than baby girl Aaliyah. Now this documentary is slated to air on ABC, and it's already being hailed as a true inside look at her personal life and career.
That's right. The documentary is scheduled to air on June 14th and comes months ahead of her induction into the R&B Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you know, we like to claim her as our own. We got to share her with Brooklyn, but you know, I've got friends who, you know, grew up with Aaliyah. I remember her just being a little kid singing around talent shows. And you know, you just sit back and you wonder what could have been.
Yeah.
However, she left such a young legacy, but a legacy to whereas when you still see the videos and you listen to the music, you can kind of sense what would have been. You know, I think she would have been mega, you know, definitely a star in the theater, on film, and continued growing as a musician.
But what a beautiful living tribute. I mean, you know, this ABC documentary, I know a lot of people are going to be watching this, and you know, being inducted into the R&B Hall of Fame, I mean, that's huge. That's where we celebrate the greats, and so that's exactly where she belongs.
Yep, so that legacy definitely continues to live on.
Yeah, well, up next, y'all already know what's coming up. Is Black excellence?
Yep.
Would you expect anything less?
Right, and we'll tell you about the historic movement happening at Mizzou. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report.
The University of Missouri hires Kerrick Jackson, making him the first Black baseball coach in SEC history.
Hear, hear. Jackson agreed to a 5-year contract for $675,000 with an annual $25,000 raise, so he'll get up to about $775,000 by 2028. That's not too bad. He has made a profession out of baseball since junior college. He's worked around small universities and colleges as an assistant coach. He also worked for the Washington Nationals as an MLB scout.
That's right. Jackson's motivation for the opportunity went beyond a larger salary, declaring he's prepared to assist in restoring the program to national prominence.
Yeah, they have a couple of national titles, and he wants to. He had worked there before. He's coming back in this head coach capacity. I think it's a good look because the MLB has a long way to go. There's a lot of men of color, but not a lot of Black, not a lot of African Americans on these teams. And so they've got a long way to go as far as their outreach is concerned. I know there have been some efforts, and maybe as a culture, as a community, you know, we've got to circle back around to understand how lucrative baseball can be. You know, we talk about, you know, basketball money, but that baseball money is big and long too. That bag is big, and it's a long bag because, you know, it's not as stressful to your body as maybe football, being that contact sport, and maybe even basketball, running them down that court and the knees and all that other stuff. So, you know, to tell the young kids, hey, try this out and stick with it. You know, I don't know if a lot of the police leagues around the country, if they're still kind of pushing baseball. I know we sort of kind of celebrate basketball and football, but, you know, baseball needs some love too. And let me tell you, it's you know, if you're talented at it, and a lot of athletes are. You've got Russell Wilson, who was being recruited by a baseball team, decided to do football. You've got Michael Jordan, who loved baseball. You've got Deion Sanders. So the love is there. I'm just not sure how much we are expressing that to the young folks.
Well, you know, maybe if we had more Black folks in leadership roles, we could further explore that. I mean, there are still not enough Black coaches in the MLB.
Or front office.
Right, and there aren't front office people, and so then therefore there certainly aren't folks in ownership either. And it just makes me think back to the conversation we had yesterday with Kyle Bowser, the SVP of the Hollywood bureau of the NAACP, where, you know, they're trying to, you know, bring some attention to a different model of ownership, right? More akin to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it makes you wonder, you know, well, if there was an MLB team that became available, you know, might that be a model that may help to produce the kind of diversity that we want to see front of office, in ownership, and on the field?
And let me tell you, if that model does push through and happen, and I get to own a little piece of BET, my show is going to be Back in My Day, and your show is going to be Black people are not a monolith. So we got 2 shows, BET.
Right. 2 for 1.
2 for 1
That's
already.
Right. We already matching.
I know you did a good job today because you changed to match what I had.
I did. Isn't that kind, Soulmate?
But here's the thing.
So sometimes I will change to match what she's wearing. She doesn't call me in the morning and say, I'm going to wear this. You know, I just take a look at what she's wearing, and I'll try and make sure I find a pocket square that matches.
This was a, what do you call that when you make a call? Because it got chilly again in Detroit. It was a little chilly this morning, like 60. So I was like, brr, I don't want to look like fall time again.
You were like, what?
Brr, I don't want to look like fall time again, but I need to put on something a little heavy, and then the studio is always chilly. So this is the fix that I came up with, and I was like, oh, okay, you found you a turtleneck.
And so I see you're chilly, and I match you with a little mock. A little mock turtleneck action here.
For the full rundown on today's stories and more, you can access Fox Soul's video on demand on any of our partners. You can access shows and other Black-centered content. Don't forget to download the Fox Soul app. It is absolutely free.
How much it costs?
It's free. Nothing.
Like free? Like give us free?
Give us free. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Nicordelai Corte. On behalf of the entire team here at Fox Soul's Black Report, because you know it takes a village to produce Fox Soul's Black Report. On behalf of everybody, stay lifted.
We'll see you soon. So silly. We'll free you of this anchored chair. Real soon.